Do we have our World Series champion?
Yes, Dew is here.
What is happening?
What's up, guys?
You've been coming up in conversation. I don't know. Have your ears been burning?
Everything. I'm down here in Florida, man. Everything's burning, man. It's hot.
Well, we just had the A's Hall of Fame ceremony, which has really become a special thing. And Jason Giambi went in, Carney Lansford went in, Gene Tennis went in. And, as we're looking, the list is, because you got the guys that won the 3 World Series in the 70s. You got the guys in the 80s who won a World Series and went. And then you got the Moneyball guys. So we've now been thinking years from now, once the era of what you guys did, because Marcus Semien was just in town. Like when he retires, you're still not retired yet. Your name's starting to pop up as someday we might be putting you in a green jacket and calling you an A's Hall of Famer.
I don't know about that. That would be more than I deserve. But like, I got selected by the fans to, I believe it was the 50th anniversary team. And that was an incredible honor. And I think a lot of it probably had to do with the relationship that I had with the fans. I had a pretty good run in Oakland, but I think
you had a damn good run in Oakland.
I was very lucky. But I think the thing that meant the most to me is that, it was chosen by the fans, and getting to be a part of that is really, really special.
Well, I think back to when you got called up and I did your first interview on the radio for the pregame show. and it was just like, this is like a Disney story. I mean, you're done. You go to Keith Lippman, who just went in recently last year to the A's Hall of Fame. And you go to Lippman and go, let me pitch. And the next thing you know, you're in the big leagues pitching. I mean, you couldn't make that up.
No, you couldn't. And I tell people about it still to this day. And every time I recount the story, I'm reminded of how lucky I got and what an absolutely surreal whirlwind it was to have everything come together, to switch to pitching in August of 2011 and debut in the big leagues in June of 2012. I don't know. I think it's helped me maintain a different perspective over the course of my career because, shoot, I got really lucky and none of this almost didn't happen. And to still have a chance to do it, at my age and after, some of the injuries and stuff, I feel really, really lucky.
So where are you right now? Obviously you're in Florida. You're not going to be at this series. From a health standpoint, where are you?
I'm getting close. So I had elbow surgery last summer. I had the internal brace to repair my UCL, and I had a setback in spring training. And I came back from that. I got sent out on a rehab assignment at the end of May, early June. And while I was out on a rehab assignment, I partially tore a tendon in my knee. So I had to come back to Florida and continue rehabbing that. But things are going really, really well. I'm set to face hitters next week. So I'm looking to, see where I can get to by the end of the season. Hopefully get sent out, play some real baseball. And, I'm excited about the progress that I've made and how my body's feeling now. So I'm trying to finish the season on a positive note.
It's so interesting. We just had Mark Kotze on. He joins us every week here on A's Cast for the Mark Kotze Show. And he talked about for the young players and going back to when he was a young player, going back to the Florida Marlins back in the day, where he talked about it was so important for the young players to be able to finish out the season, to know what it's like just to finish a season. You were like that. But now as a veteran guy, how important is it to come back healthy and finish the season? Because obviously you still have baseball left in you.
Yeah, when my body cooperates, I feel like I can still compete at a really high level. And so like I want to know, I would like to get to a point before the off season, that I know I can still do this. I know I can still pitch. I can still get outs. I can still execute and do everything that I need to do to be successful at the big league level. It would create a lot more uncertainty, right? If I wasn't able to make it back by the end of the season, and was staring down another offseason of rehab and question marks and stuff like that. So the timing of the knee injury was really, really tough. And but like I said, like the progress has been really good. It's allowed me a little bit more time to work on some things and to get my body right, really dial in some mechanics. Coming off a UCL surgery, like a lot of players say, it's really not until that second season when they feel like they're really back. You get everything, all that fine tuning finally syncs back up. So like, a little bit more time to work on things probably wasn't the worst thing in the world. So I just said I'm gonna put my blinders on, put my head down, and see how much progress I can make before the end of the season.
I think about your career and how you first came out of college and you were looked at as the future first baseman for the A's. So it really shows how talented you were of a baseball player, that if you don't get hurt and did have the injuries, you could have hit at the big league level. That didn't work out, so you pitched at the big league level. And it's so rare, right? But maybe more guys like you, because of Shohei Ohtani now, maybe will it? Because remember Mark Kotsay? I played against Mark Kotsay in college. Mark Kotsay's hitting 430.
Yeah.
Then he comes out a center field blowing 97, closing games out, but they would never give him a shot as a pitcher. Well, do you think maybe that we're so in love with Shohei Ohtani now that guys like yourself and Mark Kotsay, who can do both, will get more of a shot now?
I hope so. I think we're starting to see it a little bit. Some clubs are letting guys that have been drafted here in the last few years get a shot to do both, at least initially, and kind of keep their options open. Some, they want to see, do they pull ahead developmentally wise as a hitter or a pitcher? They want to keep their options open. It's tough to manage that workload. Like it would be, Shohei makes it look a lot easier than I think it is. Not just the mental aspect of, preparing yourself to play at this level on both sides of the ball, but also what it means from a physical standpoint as well. There's so much work that goes in behind the scenes to be successful at the big league level. And now it's like, well, how do you prioritize and how do you manage your time while still being able to stay fresh to play? I think it can absolutely be done. And I hope more guys start to get that shot. It's just like, you guys see probably Shohei more than me. I watch him on TV all the time. He's my favorite player. But like, I think he makes it look a lot easier than it is. Go pitching a complete game shutout in game one of a doubleheader and then hitting 2 homers in the second game. It's just, that's high school stuff, man.
Yeah. Well, Dan O'Dowd, the former GM, and you see him on MLB Network, was on earlier. And we were talking to him because now we're starting to see a little bit of the wear. We've already seen Tommy John surgery with him, but now as he's in his prime, but he's been dealing with cramps in his hands and his legs. It's a sign of dehydration and fatigue. It happens. It happened to LeBron James for a few years. And so he just wonders if it will be, and I think about yourself, if it's going to be probably better to have him be a reliever, kind of how John Smoltz went to be a reliever. Like, for you to be a reliever and hitter would be a hell of a lot easier probably than having to be a hitter and a starter. Would you agree with that?
I think so. It's a different kind of demand on the body. It's obviously you're only pitching 1 inning at a time, sometimes 2 innings at a time, but maybe you're doing it 3 times a week. And you're revving that engine from 0 to 100, really, really quickly. So it's just a different kind of toll on your body. But I think from a time managing standpoint, it might make it easier for him to do both and extend his career. That would be an incredibly tough decision to make because we've seen what he can do as a starting pitcher, and how good he is. So I wouldn't want to be the one to make that decision. I think, he's so good. that there's a number of different ways that he can be able to adapt and continue to find a way to do both.
One thing that I've always known about athletes, like the toughest thing to do is to rehab, because it's very lonely. You're by yourself. The one thing that, as you mentioned, you can go back to high school, go back to Little League, Pony League, Colt League, whatever league. One of the things that we always love is our teammates and being around it and being in uniform. Just mentally, how tough is it when you're just away from everything and rehabbing is just working out?
Yeah, it can be really difficult, like you said, because you want to be with the boys. You want to be, working with them every day. You want to be competing. You want to be in the trenches with them. And, even when you're around the team and you're on the injured list, it can still be tough because you're putting a ton of work in yourself, but you're not going through it with them. And you can feel a little bit disconnected from the team. But you have to find the silver lining in it. You have to look at it like, all right, this is a chance for me to, come back even stronger and make an adjustment. This, baseball is such a game of adjustments. If you can go back and break things down and say like, well, okay, well, can I move a little bit more efficiently? Can I add some more strength? Do I change my repertoire as a pitcher, so I can maybe have some more efficient innings? Find something that you can really sink your teeth into and work on every day so that you can come back better. And I think as an athlete, you have to be able to love that process. It's an absolute grind, mentally especially. But you have to be able to get to a place where you can really embrace it and really fall in love with that process.
Lawrence Butler, one of our big time prospects, is coming up today. He's going to be starting in right field, and we got a lot of the prospects up. Just as someone has come up as one of those type guys, what really is the key when you first get to the big leagues, when everything's going so fast and, oh my God, the crowds? What's like some advice you would give some of our young players who are just coming up for the first time?
I would say keep things as close to whatever routine you had, in the minor leagues, as far as your preparation goes. Keep that as close to the same as you can. Recognize that there's going to be more adrenaline. There's going to be nerves. That's normal, but it doesn't mean that you have to try harder or do more. That extra adrenaline that you get, from running out onto a big league field is going to take, just that by itself is going to take your game and raise it another level. We start getting in trouble as athletes when we feel that adrenaline rush, and then we start trying to do even more and force the issue. And that's when we get outside ourselves. That's when we start pressing. Recognize that you're gonna feel some nerves. You're probably not gonna be able to feel your legs for a little bit right when the game starts. But that's part of it, man. Like, everybody went through it, so we all know what's going on. Just look around. Take a second to look around. Embrace it. You're in the big leagues. You're there, and do everything that you can do from a preparation standpoint, from a learning standpoint, to soak it in as much as you possibly can.
Grade A's always find their way back. It's incredible how many times Ricky Henderson came back to the A's. I'm not going to be shocked, because I think about your relationship. You mentioned the fans, you mentioned the community, what the community meant to you, your wife, your growth. I'm not going to be shocked that when it's all said and done, we can see you back here in Oakland. And I know how much these fans have been hurting lately. There's no question about it, and how much these fans mean to you.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the fans. They've been incredible. I think this season, especially, showing their support and making their voices heard. I know there's some going to the game tonight in Washington D.C., and I know they're going to have support from Nats fans there as well. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the future has in store for me. I know that Oakland will always have a very, very special place in my heart. And same thing for my wife. That's where I grew up. That's where I got a chance to establish myself in the big leagues. I had an incredible connection with the fans. And that's the first thing I talk about, man. Whenever anybody asks me about Oakland, they're like, "What's it like over there?" Because I think people recognize it's a little bit different, and I'm like, man, like the fans are awesome. I think back to those teams in 12, 13, 14. The connection we had with the fans, the support we got from the community was so cool. Um, and even the Coliseum, whatever you want to say about the actual building itself, like they made it a fun place to play. And so shout out to the fans, shout out to the guys on the team right now. I think having to navigate a big league season, there's so many young guys on the team, or guys getting their first shot to establish themselves, and it can be tough keeping the blinders on and staying focused with some of the noise that's been going on in the background for them. And so I think they've handled it. They seem to have handled it well. There's good people in Oakland, and I love being connected with the organization and the fan base.
Well, that's why I think when we talk about the future, at some point you will not play, and then you're going to come up on the ballot and fans vote for part of it. I also think of what we do at like fantasy camp, special advisor. I have a feeling you somehow, some way, because of your connection with this franchise, you'll be a part of the A's family for a long time.
I don't know what's in store, but like I said, I think when I'm done, I want to stay around the game some way, somehow, and continue to maybe work with younger guys, with players, or be an ambassador for the game itself. I don't know what's in store, but Oakland is always going to be where I got my start, and I'm proud to have worn the green and gold for sure.
You're the best, my friend. Be well. Can't wait to see it back on the mound. We're always going to be rooting for you, and I hope everything will go well for you down there in Florida, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.